Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's DAF. Bava Metzia DAF Lametes. We are holding on Lametes Amud Aleph, 3 lines off the top of the Amud. Tana, we have learned the following in a brayso. V'kulam, in all these cases. Which cases? We'll see in a minute. Basically, when one becomes a caretaker of the other person's property, works on it, develops it, cultivates it, he's entitled to some, arrangement. Shamin lahem ka'aris. We apply the aris rate, like a sharecropper. So you get like whatever is the accepted aris, the going rate, whether it's 30% or whatever. So you're entitled to that much. Now, ahaya, which case are we going on? Because if we remember, we had a brayso which cited 3 different types of cases of abandoned lands, which we would like to to take care of and look after for their owner. Okay, so we had a case of a shavui, a person who was captured, who was kidnapped, and was reported to have died. So in this case, the Gemara tells us, all agree that a relative can go and enter the premises and look after them. We had a case of netushim, right, abandoned properties, fellows who have left, have been kidnapped or whatever, but status, of whereabouts unknown. In this case, we have machlekes. Rabbanon say you have no business tampering with that piece of property. Leave it alone. Rabban Shimon Ben Gamliel disagrees. He says, no, you can go in there. The relative goes in there and looks after the property. Then we have ritushim, properties which have been willingly abandoned by their owners. Basically, the fellow took a trip and hasn't yet returned, and we're not sure what's going on. If he would have wanted, he would have told us to take care of his property. He hadn't. Leave it alone. So basically, this halacha, that the caretaker is entitled to a cut, like an aris, ahai, which case is it going on? Is it going on case 1? The fellow disappeared and was reported as having died. Of course, the caretaker is entitled to a cut. There's no need to say, because hashta zoras v'niskar hava. Yesterday we learned that this fellow who's cultivating the land produces, produce, and suddenly hears. He gets wind of the fact that the owner is returning. Right? He's a zaras v'niskar. If he jumps and grabs the produce before the fellow comes back, it's zrizus and it's to his gain. He's allowed to do that. He worked at it. He can keep it. So hashta zoras v'niskar hava. Once we apply this idea of zoras v'niskar to him, my de'ashbach meboye goes without saying that whatever benefit, whatever improvement affected by his efforts in this property, at least partially belongs to him. Of course, we don't have to discuss that. Ella aritushim. Apparently, we're going on the 3rd case, where a fellow willingly left town, and we call it ritushim. There we say the caretaker is entitled to the arrangement of an aris. Really? The brayso actually tells us that he's extracted from the property. Get out! You have no business touching the property. Of course, he's not entitled to any cuts, any arrangements. Ella, so the only option is the middle case on netushim. Properties which were forcibly abandoned by their owners, the owners were captured or kidnapped, and whereabouts unknown. In which case we say, actually, there's machlekes. Let's see. So Laman, whose shita are we speaking of? Are we going on the shita's Rabbanon? Rabbanon say that you have no business caretaking this type of property. We take it out of your possession. So basically, you have no right to anything. Certainly not to get a cut off the property, off the income. Okay, so let's say it's going out the other shita, which allows us to look after the property. Well, his expression in the brayso is that I heard that the netushim, meaning this most recent case, is treated like shvuyin, like that first case, where we received report of the owner's death. So the question is, why does the Bryce have to go and stress that the fellow gets like an aris? Well, obviously, if he's like the case of the Shvuyin, where we learn that whatever he takes is his, so of course. Says the Gemara, not so far. Meaning, although Rabbi Shimon Gamliel compares it to Shvuyin, but not totally. Because Shvuyin, it's comparable to Shvuyin, but like a Shvuyin, but not exactly like a Shvuyin. Because Shvuyin, on the one hand, is comparable to Shvuyin. The Ein Moitzinos in Miyadai, that we don't kick him out of the property. He has a right to develop it. But on the other hand, he's not like the case of a Shava entirely. V'lo Shvuyin. The Ilu Hasam Zaras V'niskar. In the case where we heard that the owner passed away, so there we say whatever you take is yours. But over here, Shamin like Aris. He's not entitled to keep everything. You see, Rashi explains. Shamu by Shemes, when the owner was reported, as having died, so the fellow entering that property, his mindset is, I'm going there to keep everything. So therefore he's entitled to everything. But over here, we haven't yet confirmed anything regarding the owner. So here, you're only entitled to the Aris arrangement, which is whatever the going rate is, a third, a quarter, as per the common, practice. But in our case, Shamin like Aris, he gets like an Aris. And the question is, why does this developer get like an Aris? Why is this different than the halacha of a husband who developed his wife's property? If a fellow expended, expenses to develop his wife's property, and he divorced her. Doesn't matter whether he spent a lot, and he only took in a little bit, or kima, he spent a bit, and he had lots of income. Doesn't matter. It's unrelated. Whatever he spent is spent. Whatever he ate is ate. Right? Whatever he ate is his. But there are no outstanding claims. You don't, reckon his expenses versus his income. So here as well, why do we say that the fellow who developed this property gets like an aris? Whatever he was lucky to grab, he grabbed. Otherwise, he's not entitled to a portion of the shavach, whatever the property improved. Says the Gemara, you know why? Because really, we should compare our case to a different type of case of a man married to a ketana. He's married to Isha who's below the age of adulthood, in which case the marriage is merely midrabbanon, in which case she can just walk off on him, employing the mi'un method, refusal, right? So there, the lacha is that this husband who invested in his wife's property, is treated as though he invested in a stranger's property, which entitles him to a cut, to a business arrangement, to a sharecropper arrangement. You know why? Alma. And the reason is because since he's not secure in this investment, for all he knows, this young wife will just walk away on him. So he's going to exploit the property. He's not going to invest. He's not going to maintain it properly. He's just going to look to grab as much as he could and abuse the piece of property. Therefore, tekini l'Rabbanon. Rabbanon made a takono. You know what? You get a cut. You get like an aris. Ki heichi d'lo l'sedinu, lest he go ahead and exploit the property and neglect it. Achanami here as well. In a case of a netushin property, where this fellow is going to go in there and cultivate it, there as well, it's a risky proposition. The owner might return tomorrow. So to ensure that this fellow acts in a responsible way in maintaining the property, tekinu le'Rabbanon, they made a takana that he gets like an aris, so he knows that he's rest assured that he's safe and secure in his investment, so that the loyal sadinus, he doesn't harm the property. Now the Brisa says, Kulam, all these fellows get like an aris. So we explained, it's not going on ritushim, it's not going on shvuin, it's going on nitushim, where we allow this fellow to go in there, but we don't treat him like a husband married to an adult wife, rather to a ktana, for concern of exploiting the property. But the Brisa uses a lashon v'kulam. All people are entitled to the aris arrangement. So far we only have one person. V'chulan shaman lam kares. V'chulan, the word the chulam is all inclusive. L'suya mai, what is it coming to cover? L'suya adam Rav Nachman, Shmuel, to cover the next case as well. Shavish shenishba. Right, the fellow was kidnapped. My reading karv nechasav, we allow the relative to come in and look after the property. But yatzel adas. Let's say he left town calmly, willingly, without any duress. Ein my reading karv nechasav, since he didn't bother instructing or advising, directing people to his property, apparently he's not interested in others' involvement in his property. For Rav Nachman the day Amar, Rav Nachman, who quoted Shmuel, he himself added, Boireach, an SKP, Hariyu Kishav, he's treated like a kidnapped fellow. In which case, since he left in a hurry, we have no indication of his intention in terms of his property, and therefore we go out and we look after it. Why did he run away? He was running away from the tax collectors. If it was due to unpaid taxes, then they weren't coming to arrest him today, so he left calmly, and it's like leaving ladas, in which case his lack of instructions indicates his lack of interest in our involvement. He left because he was being chased by the authorities for killing somebody, in which case he left in a real hurry, in which case his lack of instruction upon departure isn't any indication of his intention, and therefore we look at his properties. If you have a fellow who was captured, he left behind a ready field about to be harvested. Anavim liftzar, grapes about to be harvested. Tamar ligdar, dates about to be picked. Zaysim limsek, olives about to be picked. What do we do with this valuable crop? Bezdin Yardin. So we approach with a two-pronged approach. First, we take care of the standing crop, and we do it for free. Bezdin Yardin, the Mechasa Bezdin approach the property of Amidin Apotropos, and they appoint a caretaker, a temporary caretaker, to just look after the crop, the present crop. The koitzer, he harvests the grain, uboitzer, he picks the grapes, begoider, he picks the dates, umoisek, and the olives of achakach, and then after that's done, we have all that safe and secure in trust of the bezdin, awaiting the owner's return. V'achakach ma'amidin, moiridin karav nechasav. Then comes phase 2. We take a relative and we ask him to look after these properties, and of course he gets a cut, like an aris. Why not just keep the apotropos free of charge, without expense to the owner? But like him apotropos, let us stay forever in the apotropos' hand. Well, apotropos l'deknani, we don't look to appoint a bezdin appointed caretaker for deknani, for bearded people, for adult property owners. We do it for Yisayim, for youngsters. People are willing to come forth and offer their services to protect youngsters and help them out. But property owners who left town, not too many volunteers for that. So therefore, initially, just to get the stuff off the ground and safely, stored away, that we do through an apotropos system. But to actually look after the karka on a long-term basis, for that we get the relative, and we give him a percentage. Amar Rav Huna, 3 halachos in this regard. Ein maridin katan l'nechsei shav, although we allow a relative to look after an abandoned property, but if a fellow is a katan, we don't give him that authority, because he might, neglect the property. One more halacha, v'lo karav l'nechsei katan. Let's say a katan left town in a hurry, right? So in this case, we don't allow a relative to develop his property, lest he claim ownership on the property, right? We take it a step further as well. So, let's say the katan's name was Levi, and he was kidnapped. He has a half-brother from his father's side named Shimon. And Shimon has a half-brother from his mother's side named Reuben. We can't even allow Reuben, who's a karev, on account of a karev, because he might lay claim to this property, and the katan won't be able to defend himself. He's just a katan. What is Reuben going to say? He'll say, well, look, Shimon, my brother, inherited this property from their father, the shared father with Levi. Levi got a different piece of property from his father, and Shimon took this. This belonged to Shimon. Now I'm being Yerush my brother Shimon's property. Right? There's always that risk that the katan might be disenfranchised from his property. And the Gemara explains all three halachas. Ein maridin katan. We don't allow a katan to be a caretaker. The next shavui of this, shavi's property. The one absolutely might be careless and cause harm. A relative of a relative to the katan's property as well. No, we're speaking about Reuven, who is a half brother from his mother's side, to Shimon, who is a half brother from his father's side, to Levi. We don't do that, as we explained. And likewise, we don't allow a relative to look after a minor's property, since the katan doesn't know much about protesting and asserting ownership. This relative might claim ownership, might claim that he got it from the grandfather as Yerush. So the fact that Rav Huna prefers a stranger caretaker than a relative caretaker for the katan's property, that teaches us that a stranger carries no such risk of claiming ownership, because even if a person is in actual possession for 3 years, let's say for 3 years running, which is a halachic chazaka, it's an indication of ownership. But if it's in a katan's property, you don't have a claim. As we explained, because the katan doesn't know much about protesting and asserting ownership. Even if the katan now turned into an adult, and the other fellow is still in possession of this property, it doesn't denote his ownership, because when did he enter the property? When did he access the property? When this fellow was a katan and didn't know much. But Amar says, this whole idea of not allowing a relative access to the katan's property, a relative from his father's side, a brother from his father's side, in which case he can theoretically claim ownership, that he got it through a Yerusha from the grandfather. From the father, I should say, right? Basically, he's a brother of this katan, and I'll say, look, we were Yerush our father. This is my property. But let's say the katan and this relative only share a mother, in which case there's no Yerusha there, right? Because this half brother from his mother's side will not lay claim to the katan's father's properties. He's not a son of that father, so he can't claim ownership. So there's no concern. And even when it comes to this katan's brother from his father's side, where we have that concern, it's only a concern when we're speaking about property, land. But let's say we're speaking about cultivating, maintaining a house. Everybody knows this is the katan's house. There's no chance that somebody will disenfranchise him from the property, from the house. Or and even when it comes to a farm, there's no concern. Only that's only when the katan, the bezdin did not formally document that the katan received this property as part of his Yerusha. But let's say they did formulate this formal document. He has a deed. Kol Isla. It's it's publicized. Everybody knows that this belongs to the katan. There's no chance that will be kicked off the property. He says the Gemara actually is incorrect. We take extra precaution and we distance all relatives from a katan's property. The Abba, the Ima, whether it's his father's side, his mother's side, Rata, whether it's property, Bati, what's homes, whether we have a star or not, keep away. Rather, have a stranger come and look after it. We don't allow the relative to enter. We have a story of Ahi Savta. There was an older woman, the Havila Tlas Banta. Okay, she had 3 daughters, Rachel, Leah, and Bilhah. So the grandmother and one of her, the old woman and one of her daughters, let's say Rachel, were kidnapped. Okay? Idach Tarti Banta. Now, of the 2 remaining daughters, one of them passed away, and she left over a young boy who was a katan. So now before us we have a woman, a daughter of the Savta, and her nephew. And we're not sure what happened to the to the older woman and her properties. We don't know if she died or not. What should we do with the properties belonging to the Savta? sitting abandoned. What should we do with them? Look, should we allow the remaining sister who's here take possession of all of it? We can't do that. Right? On the one hand, yeah, we'd like to maintain the Savta's property, but Dilma Shchiva Savta, for all we know, the Savta passed away. And her assets were now relegated to her kids, her 3 daughters. And one daughter we know passed away, so her share goes to her son. So now part of this property is technically owned by a katan. And we know that when it comes to a katan's property, we don't allow access to a karev, who might grab the whole thing later on. So that's a problem. That's not an option. On the other hand, so perhaps let's take half of the properties and give it to the youngster. Right? So, meaning, if the Savta really passed away, and the daughter that was with her in captivity also passed away, so all we have is the remaining daughter right here, and the Katan who's representing his mother who passed away. So basically, 50-50. Let the Katan have half of the assets. Rashi's girls half the assets, the other nuk in the hands of the Katan. We can't do that either, because that's very good that makes sense if the Savta passed away. We don't know. We don't have that confirmed. Maybe the older woman out there is still alive, and technically it's still her property. We can't allow a Katan. It's the other halacha. We can't have a Katan caretake a Shavi's property. So what do? Go like this. Therefore, we follow the following formula. We split it. Palga, half the property, Yavina l'achsa. We give to the daughter who's in front of us. Right? Because either way, that's safe. If the other 2 women, the mother and the other daughter, are no longer alive, so now this daughter right here is entitled to 50% of the property, right? So half is hers. If the mother is still around, so worst case scenario, this woman now is looking after, is caretaking, is maintaining for the mother. That's fine. On the other half, we appoint a caretaker, a Bezdin appointed caretaker, to protect the child's interests. So in case it belongs to him, that's great. Otherwise, the apotropos is looking after it until further developments. Rava disagrees. He says, look, once we get the apotropa involved, once we get the apotropa to look after half the properties, big deal, just let him look after everything. We have him look after the other half as well. Now, l'soiv shamu, it turns out that we got reports the Shchiva Savta, that the Savta passed away. In which case her assets were transferred to her 3 daughters. Right? But we're not sure about the daughter who was with the Savta, what her status is. Now, if only the Savta passed away, so each daughter is entitled to 30%, right, a third of the properties, including the Katan, right? If the daughter out there is also gone, so now the 2 remaining members of the family, the existing daughter and the child, who is the child of his mother, both are entitled to 50% each. Amar Abai says like this. Tilsa, we split into 3 parts. A third, Yavinin La'achta, we give to the existing sister. She's certainly entitled to a third. That's the least that certainly she owns. But Tilsa, Yavinin Linuka. Likewise, a third goes to the kid. That's certainly his. Vidach Tilsa, the other third, we split into 2. Yavinon Danka La'achta. Danka means a 6th. So half of that third goes to the sister to look after. Vidach, the other half of the third, meaning the other 6th, Vidach Danka Makmin La'apetruba Linuka. We have the apotropos look after it. Rava Amar, same as before. Migo the mukmina on apotropos lidanka. Once we have the apotropos looking after that 6th, mukmina on apotropos lidanka, we have him look after the other 6th as well. It's all under his care. There's a story involving Mari, that was his name, Mari bar Isaac, the son of Isaac. Suddenly his brother, his alleged brother, shows up from Chuzai. Rashi explains that the father, Mr. Isaac, maybe it's a spin-off of Isaac, he traveled to Chuzai with Murray. He married, had a kid, and Murray traveled back, back home. It's been years. Isaac passed away. Murray was Yerush Isaac's properties, and suddenly this fellow shows up and claims to be Murray's brother, long-lost brother. Amalei Plaguely. He tells Murray, listen, 50% is mine. Amalei says, lay down, Allah. Who are you? I have no idea who you are. So they approach Rav Chizda. Amalei says, look, he's not lying. Because you changed your appearance. Now you're a mature fellow with a long beard. Shaper Karmelach. It makes sense that Murray is denying your identity because he doesn't recognize you. Shenemar, as we find by the Shvatim, right? Yosef recognized the brothers, they didn't recognize him. You know why? Malamid, because we left him in his youth, he didn't have a beard. So he recognized them, but now he changed his appearance. Ubob, when they came, they showed up, he already had a beard. So yeah, you changed your appearance, and it makes sense that he's claiming not to know you. Amar Leisi says to the Rav Chizda told this alleged brother, Zil Aisi Sadi Dachvat. Okay, you have to prove with Adam that you're his brother. Amar Leisi, he says, Isli Sadi, I have Adam. But Dachli Minei, they're petrified of this fellow Murray. They're not going to come testify. The Gavra Alimu, who's known as a strong man. Amar Lei L'Dides, Rav Chizda now turns to Murray, he says, okay, the onus is on you, Zil Ant. So you go, Aisi Sadi, Lav Achvuchu, that he's not your brother. It's upon you to prove that he's not a brother. Amar Lei, so Murray responds to Rav Chizda, Dina Hachi, this is the way to proceed, this is the proper approach. Typically, the one who's extracting, who's claiming, he's got to prove his case. I'm just defending myself. I don't have to prove anything. Rav Chizda says, yeah, that's typical procedure, but this is not standard. Hachi, this is the matter in which that I judge you and approach you, and all your strong men friends. Basically, you're a violent fellow, you get this treatment. So the fellow says, look, okay, you know what? I'm willing to comply, but what's the gain? So ultimately, I'm going to bring Adam, and they'll lie through their teeth, because they're intimidated of me. Also, Sadi, they'll come and they will not testify, the MS. Truthfully, they'll mislead us, they'll misrepresent the truth, they'll just toe the line because they're afraid of me. So what's the point of bringing Adam? Rav Chizda says, no, I'm not concerned that they're going to go actually falsify their testimony because of this intimidation. Tarti, two things, meaning not enough that they'll come and remain silent, let's say, right, due to the intimidation, but to go ahead and actually falsify statements, I'm not concerned they'll do that. Tatli Abdi, two wrongs they won't do due to intimidation. Therefore, I instruct you to bring Adam to prove your case. It turns out that Adam showed up that in fact this fellow was his brother. Okay, so he's entitled to 50%. But how far? The guy says, look, I want 50% of all the orchards and Pardesia, the vines, and Bustani, and other trees of Shasal that he planted. It's all my property. Amalei Shaper Karmelach. So Rav Chizda says, actually, he has a good claim. This is not we have a Mishnah. A person passed away, left behind all the children, young ones. The older ones decided to exercise entrepreneurship, and they went ahead and they developed the land. So any benefit, any gain goes to the pot, the middle pot, family account. So you went ahead and you developed this property, but he gets 50% because technically it was both yours property. Okay, how could you compare? See there, this fellow left behind a happy family. So the older ones know that they want to invest, but there are youngsters there, and they're going to have to get their part. So they're Michael. They're aware of the fact that they have younger brothers, and they're willingly giving up, investing for them as well, for the benefit of all. But here, Murray had no clue that he had a brother. He was just working the land as though it's his. So what right do we have to force him to give a portion of this added value to his brother? So ultimately the story was publicized, and Matal came to Rabbi Ami and arrived at Rabbi Ami's doorstep. Amar Lahu. And he responded to Rav Chizda's psak with another argument. He says, look, Gedolim mizu amru, Chachamim stated an even greater halacha, even greater chiddush. Sham lahem ka'aris. Right? That was the story the halacha that we began the daf with. A fellow becomes a caretaker on the property of a fellow who was captured. He gets like an aris. He gets, there's a percentage that he's entitled to. So if you go into the stranger's property, you're entitled to a cut. Certainly in this case, a Marbar Isak, his mindset was that it's his property. He's not going to get, let him at least get a cut in his brother's part. So Rav Chizda said that he has to give a full 50% to his brother. This is his and that's the other. Let him at least be entitled to a portion of the other 50% too, at least like an aris. The fact is he put the work in, he Adrua Halakabed Rav Chizda. So this argument was then sent back to Rav Chizda. Amarlu, and he responded to it. Midam, you can compare. Hasam Bershus Nachas. There by the Yishavui, the Bezdin authorized him to go enter the property. So it's as per the Ura's arrangement. But here, he didn't have permission to interfere with his long-lost brother's property. Void, another point. Katanu. The fact is, this brother was a katan. Katan. Right? This brother was a katan. He's not allowed to have a karav look after his property. That was the halacha we learned from Rav Huna. So he's not entitled to anything. So in fact, this information, this response of Rav Chizda was then sent back to Rav Ami. Amrulu, he says, I didn't realize that this brother was a katan. Loisimua kamoi. Yeah, they didn't give me this additional fact. The katan who, then in fact the brother was a katan, and now I understand Rav Chizda's position. So Mori is not entitled to any portion of the brother's property. Okay, so to summarize, we have the halacha of Shamalem Ka'aris, which pertains to a case of a fellow who left in a hurry, abandoned his property, and if we allow a stranger to go, a relative to go in there and look after it, he's entitled to get something from it, like an aris. It's compared to a husband in the chasm of his katana wife, because there it carries a great risk that this arrangement might be terminated suddenly. So to avoid any carelessness and exploitation of this karka, we give him like this percentage. Rest assured that he'll get back his investment. Rav Nachman added that the Iboreach Machmas Mardin, he's being chased by the authorities on account of a murder, is also considered like a shavui, which triggers this whole caretaker process. Rav Huna tells us 3 halachos regarding a katan. A katan should not be a caretaker. A karev should not take care of a katan's property, or even a karev of a karev, and explain why, because they might exploit the katan and take advantage of his property. We had the story of the Savta of the 3 daughters, how far does that Petrapa go? And we concluded with the story of Mari Bar Isak, who had to compensate his brother, give him back his 50%. All the best to you and Hatzlach Rabbah.